Welcome to our 19th annual Kentucky Derby Party. We hope you'll have a great time this afternoon. Karen and I started our Derby parties back in 1999 when we lived in Denver, and we've continued them throughout the years. Many of you know nothing about horse racing. Don't worry. We made this video just for you. It will teach you everything you need to know to enjoy today's race. Our Big Jeopardy contest, coming up later, will be based on the information shared in this video, so listen closely. Every horse running in the Derby today is a registered thoroughbred. That breed was created in England. The diagram you see on this slide is a pedigree chart, similar to a human family tree. In this case, it shows how every thoroughbred can be traced back to the 3 Arabian sires in the 1700s. There's a chart in the main hallway of our house just like it. In America, horses race on dirt or on grass, and the sport of horse racing is conducted all year round at tracks all over the country. The horse racing season revolves around 2 big events: the Triple Crown races in the May-June timeframe, and the Breeders' Cup Championships in early November. So racing in the spring focuses on the Triple Crown, while racing in the summer focuses on the end-of-year championships for all ages. Finally, remember that horse racing is much more than horses running around in a circle. It is a chess game being played at 40 miles an hour. These horses love to run, and they know when they win. So listen carefully to the rest of this video. You'll be tested later.
Award-winning trainers like Bob Baffert and elite thoroughbred owner clients like Ahmed Zayat and Canadian diamond magnate Charles Fipke, among others, have long been sending their young, raw, and filled with potential 2-year-old thoroughbreds to the McCathen brothers. Exactly 20 years ago, the McCathen brothers purchased, prepped, and trained 1997 Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner Silver Charm as a 2-year-old. A year later, they prepped and trained the subsequent Kentucky Derby and Preakness winner Real Quiet.
Real Quiet catches Normo! Yes, Real Quiet wins it!
On early foggy winter mornings, the first steps in training a racehorse take place across McCathen Brothers Training Center.
That's really our core philosophy. If it's, like put the horse first and do what's right for them, and hopefully they'll develop to their top potential.
Talented, yet inexperienced 2-year-old thoroughbreds get accustomed to being handled, as well as to the weight of a saddle and the feel of a bit in their mouth.
Our job is really, we don't have to teach horses a lot because they innately know how to do most of the things that we want them to do.
It's a process, one which requires learning, intuition, and patience for both the trainer and horse.
This is just to get him used to the whip and a lot of movement. Ho. You got to have trust in your handlers first. Whoa. You don't see very many of my horses very nervous. So it's for nerves. In all sports, it's how nervous you are. Back, 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 back. Whoa. The main thing is spontaneous reaction, when to pull, when to stop, when to pet, how to read a horse quickly, because it's over and over, exactly the same thing, over and over. So he knows when he stops, all he gets is petted. That's why he stops. That's why he won't move, because he knows all he gets is scratching, petting. When he says, whoa, whoa, back, back, whoa, come up. Oh, there, see now, that's spontaneous reaction. When I said come up, he went on 3 legs and I quit right then. Yeah, watch this one now. This is when I got him hypnotized now.
Each horse, similar to humans, has his or her own personality, motivations, and anxieties. Behaviors and mannerisms are studied and noted, and often relayed back to the owner clients. Once these young thoroughbreds adjust to having a person on their back and learn to take direction and cues, they progress toward the training track. Strides, gaits, and athletic movements are measured and compared, often using technological innovations, sensors, and GPS-like tracking systems. The thoroughbreds are tested for fitness, soundness, and speed. Atop a viewing stand, the McCathen brothers appraise each horse closely. any advantage, real or perceived, is worth exploring. The top horses exemplify not just speed, but a keen look and a professional attitude.
With these young horses, just the repetition of having a daily training routine. We've got the little practice gates that they go through every day. Well, they're used to that. Some days we'll have like a group of 7 or 8 horses just in a big bunch going around together because they have to learn to do that. You know, they don't have to learn to do that. They know how to do that, but they have to feel comfortable with a rider on their back on a racetrack environment.
Herd dynamics can prove very revealing, often being a key indicator in forecasting future results.
Before the start of every race, the assistant starters will close the front doors, which are really heavy and they're spring-loaded, held together by this electrically charged magnet. Now the horse and jockey are loaded, and the official starter's ready to not turn on the electricity, but to turn it off, allowing the lever to drop and the gates to open. Sound simple? Well, if everything goes smoothly, it is. But that's not always the case. As a jockey, I felt the starting gate was one of the most dangerous aspects of racing. Why is it so dangerous? Well, for one thing, you're surrounded by steel. Now, this gate might look open and airy. Most horses, who can be a bit claustrophobic anyway, feel the crampedness of these close quarters. When we enter the gate, the horses usually appear to be very calm on the outside. But on the inside, well, their charged up engine is ready to explode.
The jockey must see that his horse is standing 4 square when the gate flies open, and must be ready as it gathers itself, dropping down on its haunches to make the first lunge onto the track. As with a human athlete, a horse will run the first quarter mile anaerobically, consuming fuel that does not require oxygen from the bloodstream. But from then on, the horse depends on lungs and heart to supply oxygen to the muscles. Through his hands, the jockey must control his mount to as even a pace as the tactics of the race allow.
A horse travels, if you would, much like the wheels on a spoke. As a horse is landing, and this is in the say in his left lead, he would land on his right hind, his left hind, his right front, and his left front. The left lead is necessary in negotiating the left-hand turns as we have in this country on the ovals that we run on. The ideal situation would be that the horse would break out on his right lead from the starting gate, whether it's going around 1 turn or whether it would be going around 2 turns, such as a mile or a mile and a 16th. You would break out on the right lead, which would be your left hind, left front, right front. In a route race going a mile or a mile and a 16th, of course, the ideal situation, as I was saying, would be to break away from the gate on your right lead, change to your left lead into the first turn, change to your right lead as you straighten up down the backside, change to your left lead in the second turn, change back to your right lead as you straighten away for home, and run the last 3/16 of a mile, or the duration of the race, on the right lead. Horses do this normally and naturally in the field running. Some people liken changing to leads as carrying a bucket of water. Now, you can carry a bucket of water in one arm and just go a certain distance. But if you could alter the weight of the bucket from the left arm to the right arm, you could certainly go further. That's why it's necessary for horses to change leads in order to finish at their maximum.
As Secretariat overtakes his stablemate Riva Ridge to win the Marlborough Cup, slow-motion film shows how his gait approaches the ideal, where each leg in turn provides motive power. The spokes of a wheel, as near a continuous flow of thrust as four legs can contrive. However near to genetic limits the thoroughbred has come, there are still horses born that we can only wonder at.
Normally jockeys, we rose at between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning and headed out to the racetrack for our morning workouts. And morning workouts really are comprised of visiting barns that you would ride for trainers in the future. Maybe that day you'd be visiting the mounts, the horses that you're going to ride in the next day, two, maybe in the next week or two. The training hours are typically from 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning until about 10 a.m. in the morning. By 11 o'clock in the morning, I would make my way back to the track itself and head to the jockey's room. The very first thing that I do when I hit the jockey's quarters is weigh myself. Come on in, we'll do this. If it was a fruitful night with food the night before, a lot of liquids, it could be pretty tight, and I'm expecting bad news when I step on that scale. So this would be either put a smile on my face or a frown on my face. Nobody in the jockey's room during racing hours except the jockeys and their employees. My day was pretty much go in here, get in the shower, shower off, go in the steam room for about 25 to 30 minutes. I would do a little calisthenics, I would stretch, I would shave, I would just loosen up basically, if you will, and I would lose a pound and a half in there doing that. This is the masseur's room. Another pretty good place for a jockey to cool down, regroup. I might come in here and lay down with a towel over me for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I told you I might take a little brief nap. It would probably happen here. So this was my corner when I was riding. I call it my corner. I shared it with several other jockeys, and the equipment, the actual saddles, are located down below. And I'll pull out one saddle here. This is a particularly big saddle. Let me get a smaller saddle. This saddle would weigh about, probably about 3.5 or 4 pounds. This saddle would weigh about 1.5 pounds. You can see the difference. And you would use this saddle on horses that are weighted with higher weights, unless you're very heavy that day. And this saddle would obviously be used for horses with lesser weights. When riding the Kentucky Derby as a jockey, several items of equipment are required. Among them a helmet for safety and goggles for vision. And because we run on dirt in the Kentucky Derby, you get dirty. And that requires goggles. Now going 1.25 miles, it requires more than one pair. I've used as many as 6 pair. In 1993 and 1996, that's exactly how many pairs of goggles I used riding Grindstone and Sea Hero. Now this is a beautiful sunny day, but kid you not, we still need multiple pair because they put the water on the track themselves, creating a lot better traction for the horses as they go over it. But 6 pair of goggles? Try putting 6 pair of sunglasses on top of each other and looking through them. Things get a little fuzzy, a little blurry. It distorts your vision somewhat, especially peripherally. You can see very little from side to side. As we go through the running of the race and are in amongst the pack, the dirt comes back flying, covers the top pair of our goggles, so we must reach up while we're riding with 2 fingers and pull a pair of goggles down. We repeat that as we go through the track, one by one, hoping not to cover my mouth. That has happened before, and that's a heck of a problem getting my air. I'm here to win a race, and I have to make multiple decisions and try and coax the best run out of my horse that I can. But I need to see very clearly. And through all this, I have to reach up unconsciously and pull them down. And I hope that I've judged the amount of goggles I've carried with the amount of distance I've traveled and not run out before I hit the finish line. It's happened to me before, and it's not fun. To me, there's nothing more exciting than riding horse races for a living. But with that excitement comes an element of danger. How dangerous? Well, how many jobs do you know where an ambulance actually follows you? For every race run here at Pimlico today, the ambulance will follow the field of horses as they travel around the track. Even the ride to the track is not without risk. Horses can spook at almost anything, throwing their rider at any moment. And along with all the physical demands, the jockey must survive the mental challenge of the spill. Jockeys must accept the fact that it's not if they will fall, but when. Yes, bones will be broken, but you just have to pray it's not career-ending.
Sweetwater Oak on the outside of Current Lady head-to-head. Sweetwater Oak loses the rider. Current Lady in front.
Almost always, spills happen without warning. Fortunately for jockey Julian Leperoux, he landed on a safety rail, which has a hard plastic shield on top of it, allowing the jockey to bounce clear rather than being wrapped around one of its supporting poles. Leperoux was lucky and walked away from this, but not all jockeys do. Unlike NASCAR drivers, who are surrounded by a steel cage to protect them during a crash, a jockey's only safety equipment are their helmet and their protective cage, the vest.
For a jockey, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. We're all going to get hurt at some point.
It's how bad you're going to get hurt.
A little bit crazy.
You have a 1,200-pound horse.
A bit brave.
And you weigh 110 pounds.
And a bit courageous at the same time.
It really doesn't bother me that I've broken my neck 3 times.
Oh, I crushed my skull at Church Announced.
I have a plate and 5 screws holding my collarbone together.
Broken pelvis.
Broken ribs.
Collapsed lung.
4, 5 pins put in my hand.
My head looked like a spider web. I fractured it so bad.
Took out my spleen. Broken my kneecap. I broken my fingers.
Unfortunately, it's part of the game. And because it's part of the game, we have to make sure that we're thoroughly protected when we're out there.
You have a helmet, you have a flak jacket now, and your boots, and that's pretty much it.
When I'm scared out there, my saddle's going on the wall. I don't have time for that.
The day I'm going to start thinking about it, that's the day I'm going to retire. To get back on a horse, to me, is what I love to do.
I go out there, do what I have to do, and that's my job.
Because I love to do it, you know what I mean? It doesn't scare me one bit. I don't look at the consequences of being that it might shorten my career. It all comes down to what you want to do in life.
And I made a promise to myself. I thought if God ever gave me a talent, that I would never waste a day or an hour developing it to its fullest. And I made that pledge to myself, and it's kind of carried me through life.
You have gotten a full day's work, both figuratively and literally, in this sport. I mean, up at 3:30 in the morning and out at that track. What fires you up about early morning at the racetrack? We have some beautiful footage of what it's like in that morning.
I think that it's probably the most beautiful time of the day. It's you one-on-one. You see the product that you're working with. It's a master plan that you're bringing them to a Derby or a Preakness or a Breeders' Cup. And it's just it's a great serenity. It's in a setting like Santa Anita or Belmont Park, you just can't beat it. I ride a nice saddle horse. I get out there, my mind clears from all the clutter of everything else and the business side of this thing that I'm in. And I just like the one-on-one relationship with just me and a good horse.
It's amazing, and it sounds almost comical that you relate well to horses, but there are people who suggest that the deep, dark secret of Wayne Lukas is that horses understand Wayne, and Wayne understands the horse. You think it's true?
I tell my assistants that they should constantly think like the horse. That one of the keys to training is to put yourself in the horse's position. And one of my favorite statements is that the horse is always right. No matter what the situation, the horse is right. Make me an attorney for the horse and I'll never lose a case. And by that I mean no matter what he does on the racetrack or how he messes up, if he fights the gate, he bears out on the turn, that there's a reason behind that and that the horse is always right. And I think you got to think like him in order to train him, and you got to have that feel. And if you don't, I think you're missing the boat. And another thing is, I think that a lot of trainers dwell on the physical side of getting him fit, heart rate, aerobic heartbeat, lung capacity, and so forth, and neglect the mental side. I think a horse has to have that spirit, has to have that try, and that's true with any athlete.
I want to talk about your spirit, if it's not too personal for a few moments. In this Bill Knack article in Sports Illustrated, it said that you were obsessed to a point where when you sit down for dinner, it's let me have a Coke and a menu, and in 10 minutes, you're up and out. That you told your wife, honey, I'd like to take a nap right now. Wake me up in 7 minutes. Right. I mean, you don't like to waste time. I mean, time is really precious for you.
Well, I think that what happens to us is that we get our lift, we get our cherishing of the day through different things. Sure. I get it through an intensity of going out and trying to accomplish things. I keep score in everything I do. And so what I do is I want to eat and get on to the next task, and that's my way of really getting what maybe some people get out of a golf game.
How much is money still a motivator for you?
It's a way of keeping score. I don't think the material things are as important. If somebody were to ask me right now what my net worth is, I could not tell you. I know it's a lot better than it was a few years ago, but it's just a way of keeping score for me. I enjoy some very nice material things, but the thing that I like is the sense of competition. I like to take on Lasborough and Charlie Whittingham, Woody Stevens, and you know, it's a funny thing. We'll win a race, and we won't even get the horse cooled out and back to the barn. I'm thinking, where can I run him again, and where can we take him on the next time? I thrive on it.
I had a chance to really explore and find out a little bit about why he feels the way he does, but he also has a philosophy that embodies what he calls the trainer's dozen. It's a list of 12 qualities of life to live by. It includes things like the value of time, the success of perseverance, the pleasure of working. But down in the list, there's one that really knocked me out, and I think it's true. The power of kindness. In the final moments here, can you capsulize that power?
Well, I made up that list and talked about that, and I added that because I think that nobody gets anywhere. Roy Firestone didn't get his awards and get where he is in life. Wayne Lucas didn't get where he is in life, or Michael Jordan or Larry Bird or any of us get where we are at the pinnacle of our careers without a lot of help along the way. And I know nothing that feeds that as much as kindness.
And the rough.
My advice for anybody that was calling a Triple Crown attempt, I would only give them one piece of advice. Don't drink coffee.
And Lawless Miss is ready to roll. But
I just grew up in Chicago and soon discovered that I probably wasn't going to be a jockey. And but I had great admiration for the track announcer there in Chicago when I was growing up. Phil Georgieff, he was like my childhood idol, and I just wanted to be him. I'd go to the grandstand at the racetrack, call races into a tape recorder. Even my friends in the neighborhood, I have them run around, and I'd pretend they were horses, and I call a horse race. In college, I'd stand up on the bar, and everybody run around the bar, and it became a thing. And then eventually, I got a job calling horse races at little county fairs in Wisconsin. One of the first things I do is handicap the races. So I've got my past performances here. I haven't made a chart out yet, but these are the horses, let's say, in today's first race. So that's the way I approach the race, and then start thinking of things to say that would be appropriate. Then I have to color in my program the colors that the silks that the jockeys are wearing. I color that in my program, and that helps me to memorize the colors and the names. And also, if they're on the far side of the track, and I can only see, let's say in this race, there's a horse on the way on the outside. Sometimes you just can't see all the colors, only a little glimpse of them. So I can look down at my program while I'm calling the race and say, oh, there's that little flash of blue out there. The only horse with blue out there is this horse. So it helps that way. But I try not to look at the program during the race. And I just go in every day with the attitude of, you're just going to do your best race today. Whatever you've done in the past is of no matter, really, because it's just, you're only as good as your last race call.
Comes spinning out of the turn. Secretariat now by 5 lengths. Miguel in second, Araneda third. They're coming to the 8th hole. Secretariat by 5 lengths. They pass the 8th hole of the mile. 135. Secretariat all by himself. America's super horse. Ron Kirkcott up. 50 yards to come. Secretariat by 7. Secretariat 8 lengths. And Miguel and Araneda is third.
Move to the top of the stretch, and Risen Star has the lead by 3. The filly is dropping back as King Post makes his move on the outside. They're approaching the quarter pole, and Risen Star has the lead by 4. Eddie Delahousie aboard. King Post is in the runner-up spot at this point. Bryant's Time at the rail is racing third. Winning Colors back to 4th. Then Cephas and Bernakis. But past the 8th pole, Risen Star drawing away. He looks like his daddy at this point. Risen Star in front, and down the stretch they come. Risen Star drawing off. He's in front by 15, by 18. Risen Star takes the Belmont, just like his daddy Secretariat did. King Post finishes second. Bryant's Time third. Then it was Cephas, Bernakis, and the filly Winning Colors finishes third. They're jubilant at Belmont, I'm sure in New Orleans. The final time on the board, 2 minutes 26 and 2/5 seconds.
Bodie Meister on top as they round the far turn. He went 3/4 in 1:11 and 3. And Mike Smith and Bodie Meister are in front by a length. Creative Cause is second. I'll Have Another, well within striking range. Now Mario Gutierrez asks him to go, and he's 3 wide, and they're into the stretch, and it's Bodie Meister coming to the 8th hole. I'll Have Another makes his move on the outside with 1 furlong to run. Bodie Meister's in front. I'll Have Another is bearing down on him. It's Bodie Meister, and I'll Have Another in a dramatic Preakness. Can I'll Have Another get there? Here he comes. Here's the wire. I'll Have Another did it. He ran down Bodie Meister to win the Preakness, and the Triple Crown will be on the line at Belmont Park.
Wow, he did it again.
With 4.5 furlongs remaining, it's Song and a Prayer, and he leads by 2 lengths over Balto Star. Millennium Wind is now third toward the inside. Congaree in good striking position on the outside. And the pent-up power of Point Given. 5 lengths from the lead, he's beginning to advance. Express Tour is right with him as the field rounds the far turn. Then Invisible Ink, Thunder Blitz is well within striking range. Jorge Chavez gets busy on Monarchos, and they're surging as they move toward the top of the stretch. And Congaree has come away with the lead. Here comes his stablemate Point Given on the outside. They're in 3/4 in 1:09 and 1. Record time here in the Derby. You're at the top of the stretch, and it is Congaree who is full out. Here comes Monarchos under a heavy drive on the far outside. Invisible Ink is there. Point Given not today. 1 furlong left. Here comes Monarchos, who sweeps to the lead. He's pulling away by 2. He's pulling away by 3. Jorge Chavez and Monarchos have won the Kentucky Derby.
Now let's ride with Jorge Chavez and Monarchos the entire way in the Kentucky Derby, sort of breaking a little sideways, not uncommon, and no real problems. Number 16 in the gold and blue colors of the Oxleys, and getting away cleanly as Chavez places the stretch running colt in the proper position. About midway down the back stretch, where Monarchos made that giant move to win the Florida Derby, is where Chavez starts to pump and changes his goggles right there. Gets his whip out, and now he is beginning to ride in earnest. Gives Monarchos a little tap to wake him up. And look at him accelerate as he moves inside 2 horses, inside again on the rail, the ground-saving trip from Chavez. And he has Monarchos in full gear right here. Monarchos picking up horses right and left. He goes by Keats, who's fading. And next he has dead aim on number 4, Thunder Blitz, and in front of him Balto Star as the speed horses are dropping back. And Monarchos gets a tap again from Chavez, who puts him on the outside, out in the middle of the track to keep him out of trouble. Here's Point Given looming now just to his inside. Chavez comes over right there, is where the objection occurred, but you can see that Invisible Ink really was not impeded, as Monarchos was clear as he went by. Chavez having switched the whip to his left hand, now drives to the finish line. They call him Chop Chop because of his whip work. He doesn't need it here, though. Monarchos home free in the Derby.
Woo, baby!